What up? What up? Can you guys hear me okay? Microphone check 1, 2. Thank you, Jinx. Thank you, Willow. What's up, kid? Face. What's going on, kid? Or dude, good to see you. Rose, thank you so much for the feedback. What's up, Digital? Purdue, Miss Thang. Jerry, what's up? Rose, what's good? Hello, Willow, Miss Dog Lover. Yep, we're going to do an overview of that case right now. What's up, Don? Good to see everybody. We will get started here in just a moment. So what's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? Abby's grandma, good to see you. What's going on with you, Dawn? And what is up, Frank? So I don't know if you guys caught a glimpse of this. I received a couple emails. I saw the Inquisitor put this information out as well. So let me know how many of you are familiar with this case because of the information that was just released, or you haven't heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, can you just let me know? I just want to kind of get a feel for the room. Just put a 1 if you have not heard of this case. Okay, now this case is from May 29th of 2011. William and Peggy Stephenson were found murdered inside their home located in Florence, Kentucky. A family member discovered their bodies after William, aka Bill, did not show up for the Sunday service at the Truckers Chapel or the services held at the Union Baptist Church. So you guys have not. Okay, so you guys are just like me. The only thing I was familiar with is I remember the other guy's face. I think it's their son. Is that who it was that was suspected? I remember seeing his face pop up a couple times. It's crazy to now know that this face, when you're doing your research, that could be tied to something, Hey, Paula, Queen, Sassy, what's going on? Kate, Vanessa, Miss Thang, my Charlie. How is everybody? Wednesday, March 1st. Yeah, it's already March. Outrage and Grace. Hello. I think it will be stranger than a bullet. I think it has to do with the crime scene and what was done to the victims. And also the DNA. This person is somebody who they don't have the DNA on file, I don't think. Jinx, what's up? Jinx says, I'm from Kentucky originally, so I'm familiar with it. Okay. So was this heavy in the news when it happened back in 2011? Joanne. Okay. So we're going to learn about this case together. I've watched the news footage that was released by Fox 19, and all of the links are in the description. So bear with me. It's kind of going to be a slow, kind of drawn out night. I want to understand as well. So we're going to take our time with it. We're going to stop and go. I pulled some things that I think might help and kind of help with what I think law enforcement's trying to do and why they think there's a connection. Susie says son killed his girlfriend. Yeah, and I don't know if it was his girlfriend or not, but I know that they were kind of talking. But I don't know much. I only know this article that seems pretty in depth. I'll read it to you guys, and then a couple news clips from when that murder happened. Hey, Steffa, good to see you. Mandy, I think I missed you, Mandy. Good to see you. Jari, what's up? I watched a few videos recently on it. Yeah, apparently the news dropped just on the 28th about the possible connection, but I think they may have known about this connection for some time, because I also found another report from 2021. We're going to watch that first, and they kind of hint at what they have so far in the investigation. That'll give us kind of set the tone for them just kind of diving into the whole, out of nowhere, hey, there's a Delphi connection. And they also mentioned Richard Allen, saying that their information didn't lead to his arrest, but that it ran parallel. What else runs parallel? Little tentacles. So I thought that was interesting. See, kill nephew, not son. Thank you. Hey, what's up, Growing Crazy? Jill, what's up, Jill? Oh yeah, sees through an item they were interested in, the murder weapon possibly, or a video. Remember, you had Garrett Kurtz running around talking about people having a video. Maybe he was in possession of that. Hey, what's up, Mike? This is a bizarre turn in the case. A strange item was at both crime scenes, and the tip called in of both of them. Where there was smoke, there's fire. Well, we don't know. They're just trying to be thorough, but we're going to look at it. We're going to try to figure it out. Yeah, we got to focus on the details, try to figure out exactly, sift through the information that they're providing us and not get lost in it or get confused. There are two cases possibly linked, one in Lawrenceburg, and of course their nephew murdered the other elderly lady. Terry Friedoff, Susie, got you, Rose. Hey, Chris, good to see you, buddy. Boston Christian, it's always good to see you. Olivia. All right, Julianne. So we got a couple people strolling in. I'll get a couple more comments, then we'll get going. I don't remember it much, honestly. When I saw the Trendifer interview, it reminded me of it. Watching Survivor. I went through my Survivor phase. You can blame my wife for that one. Hey, Courtney Robb, what's up? Thanks, Jerry. F you, scrubs. That's not nice. But I do appreciate your support. Thank you so much. I think you even sent me a Cash App. Damn, bro. Miss Dog Lover, really interested to hear about this, but may have to watch back. Already past 1 a.m. here. Can stay for a little while. Well, make sure you leave some comments if you do have to run, and then catch the other half on replay. And if we get anything wrong and you guys are more familiar with the case, please correct us. And everything that we're going to talk about today is linked in the description. Thanks, Dee. Yeah, if you guys could hit that like button, that would be awesome. Damn, I was a scrub for a second. If you don't donate, that doesn't mean you're a scrub. But if you don't hit the like button, that does mean you're a scrub. I don't want you guys to feel pressure to send money to a YouTube channel. But you can if you want to. I do shit like that with my money. Thumbs up. No scrubby here. Thank you, Purdue. Was it the son or the nephew? I think it is the nephew. We're going to find out right now. And I apologize for that. Already sending out misinfo. Definitely not familiar with the case. What's up, Miss Kitty? Always good to see you. Always Kentucky. Been looking into Delphi. I'm going to say from, I think they said from 2022. We'll stop at all of these specifics and kind of try to make sense of this information. There's a lot going on. They kind of throw a lot out at us. So let's start with this 2021 report. This is 10 years after the crime. And this is the cold case, you know, trying to bring some attention to it.
Nearly a decade since Bill and Peggy Stephenson were murdered inside their home in Boone County.
A detective working the couple's case is revealing a new information about the investigation.
Jessica Schmidt joins us live with where things stand right now. This is a story you will see only right here on Fox 19 Now.
Yeah, Robin, Amber, so Sunday actually marks 10 years since the Stephensons were murdered in the Boone County area. And I spoke with the detective who has handled the case.
Here, let's do this. So Florence. This will kind of give you an idea of the distance between Florence and Delphi, and it's not far. It would have, from the looks of it, the anchor point would be Indianapolis. It's about the halfway point there, or Muncie. So it's about a 3-hour drive from Florence to Delphi.
And that detective told me it's not a cold case, even though time has passed. In fact, he actually says they have some solid leads that they got recently that they are continuing to follow up on.
Well, this is 2021, and they're talking about solid leads. So I don't know if these are the same kind of leads, but I think they get more specific about the Delphi connection in a 2-part series that I'll show after this clip.
10 years is long enough.
It's been a decade full of painful moments, cherished memories, and unanswered
Thanks,
questions for the family of Bill and Peggy Stephenson.
They were open and friendly with everybody they met. You know, they didn't meet a stranger.
The Boone County couple died in May 2011 when they were brutally murdered inside their Florence home. The 74-year-olds were well known and well liked for their work in Christian ministry.
They were very involved with the church that they went to for years. Dad was a deacon. Mom played the organ.
Although time has passed, Detective Coy Cox says he and his partner are following up on 3 solid leads received within the past year. One of those tips led them to a truck driver.
Yeah, so see that little, he kind of turned into a truck trailer, and I don't know what his connection is to truck drivers. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the drugs. Maybe he can relate. I don't know. Maybe he was messing with somebody's business, you know? Like, hey, you're taking all my customers away, dude. Or maybe he was just seemed like an easy target, you know, an elderly man.
driver, a man who used to live in northern Kentucky but moved to California. Knowing Bill worked with a chapel ministry at a truck stop, they tracked that trucker down.
We have collected DNA from him, and that's been submitted to the state.
Okay, so they got a trucker that was there in Kentucky, moved to California. They were able to track him down, and they got his DNA in 2021, so they would have the results by now. So whether or not the trucker was involved, it looks like there was no match as far as DNA.
Although the crime scene was complex because something had been moved and then staged in each room.
Moved and staged. So I'm wondering if they suspect maybe they were filming it again. They talk about, in this case, hanging around with the body for a couple of hours. Now, we're going to kind of focus on that when they bring it up. But the same thing happened in the Delphi case. Remember, we talk about that missed time. 2:15, they encounter the guy on the bridge, but he's not seen really fleeing the scene until close to 4 p.m. It's almost 2 hours of lost time. And apparently they know, from the evidence that these people did something as far as moving things from one room to the other, doing strange things to the bodies, and hanging around for a couple of hours. Very similar to Delphi right there already.
Cox says they do have evidence, and at this point, they can't rule out that more than one person may have been involved.
Who could do this to them? Why them?
We have a pretty good idea of the persons that we are interested in.
Detectives aren't revealing possible motives, but Beth says she and her two brothers will never understand how someone could take their parents' lives so senselessly in such a horrific way.
I think it's one of the hardest things that you can go through as a family. It's a nightmare that has gone on for 10 years.
They deserve an answer. I wish we could give them one, and hopefully soon we can.
Oh, that's interesting. Digital says, for some reason, the way the detective spoke, it made me think that possibly a weapon stolen from the Stephenson home was used in Delphi. I don't know why I thought that. Well, they said item. They kept saying there was an item. But they never mentioned if it was a stolen item, from what I understand. I could be wrong.
Now, Detective Cox says he isn't sure exactly when they will get those DNA test results back, but did say it probably will take some time. Of course, we'll keep you posted on those. We also know tonight there is a $50,000 reward for information in this case.
Support with Stefa says, does Kurtz have family in Kentucky? For some reason, I want to say his dad was from Kentucky, but I can be wrong. It might be Tennessee. I'm not sure. You're like the third person who said that today, so you might be right.
So on that note, Detective Cox says it is never too late to call and give them a tip. I mean, they just got one last year, and it's already given them new leads. So if you know something tonight, you are asked to call the Boone County Sheriff's Office. Reporting live, I'm Jessica Schmidt, Fox 19 Now.
Okay, so that report was from 2021. If you want to watch it again at any point, the link is in the description. Now, here just a few days ago, they actually, on the 28th, they released a 2-part series. And let me see what the name of that series was. Investigators looking into possible link between Stephenson murders and Delphi case. So that's why I have a weird title to this video, because I just copied that. Stephenson murders and Delphi case. So it's kind of like pulled from a bigger sentence. Sees Through says, I think there is a similar weapon used in both or took from the first scene. Yeah, I wonder what the significance of the item. Like, what do you mean by the item? And is the truck driver connected, but still not, the person that they're looking for in Delphi? So it seems like they were looking at 3 different angles. One was a trucker, one was a guy in Delphi. And there seems to be an item involved with that inquiry. I wonder what kind of item. They mentioned following around somebody in Delphi. Thought that was interesting. Yeah, the timing is interesting too. Makes me think of a specific person, but that I'm biased with that. Terry Friedoff, you would travel 275 to State Route 1, then I-75 to Indianapolis, a big trucker route. Yeah, and then you got Packers. You got the Packers plant. So we got some sadistic drug dealing trucker killer pulls up into Delphi. He doesn't have to be anywhere for the next couple days. Looks over at some rough looking characters and says, hey, you know where I can get some, I don't know, some kind of drugs, like where's the party at? Takes him to a party. Gets himself involved in, I don't know. Who knows what I don't even know why I would even be tying in the trucker, because that's not even part of the same theory, but you never know. I've seen stranger things happen. Yeah, I'm thinking it's more the crime scene and what was done. Something maybe specific was used as a weapon. It might leave a signature, something they know, hey, this is strange. Like this isn't something you would typically see, or some type of specific wound. Maybe it could even be a signature, I wonder how ISP feels about this shit. I think ISP, he says a gentleman, but I think it was somebody from ISP. He's not going to be like, oh, well, ISP gave it to me. But I think it was law enforcement was like, hey, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with anything, but, it's not going to hurt. Like I found some similarities here. And whatever that was happened in 2022. Florence, Kentucky is just before crossing the bridge into Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, I noticed that. Looks like a suburb of Cincinnati. Sounds like the Russell and Shirley Dermond case. I'm not familiar with that one. Don't hate, create. They didn't meet a stranger. Well, that's an old saying. There's some people that no matter who they meet, they're friends. Like, hey, brother, I'll give him a hug. They didn't meet a stranger. Everybody they met was like family or a friend, or sounds like they gave everybody the benefit of the doubt, basically. I've heard that saying before. What about the rumor that a weapon was left at the Delphi scene? Just a rumor. Yeah, maybe the weapon could be similar. An item, somebody that had an item. The person of interest had an item. Man. Really reminded me of something. God, I wish I could just let it out. Non-secular, both DNA seems unusable. I don't know if it's unusable, sees through. I think it's just not in the database. And we're going to pull up Michael Katt's video where he talks to Kim Riley, and Kim Riley says, it's like this person hadn't committed a crime before. What does that tell you? Tip came in November 2022 for Delphi Link. There you go. It's interesting. Hour and a half from Florence. Interesting. All right, let's keep moving here. Let me scoot down here and get some of these people coming in. Don't hate, create. Good to see you. Just uploaded a video on this. It's so crazy. Yeah, it's strange. Very strange. It's got my attention. Wasn't that druggie Sean something? He passed away that said his dad and son were involved in Delphi from this area. Was it Kentucky? That'd be crazy. I think his tip would have been, would it have been before 2022? Man, that would blow my mind. And they have the exact time of death from an implantable device in one of the victims. Yep. All right, guys. Let me get a couple more. Let's get Jerry. We live in a world filled with evil. Everything feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket. Personal responsibility is the key. The man in the mirror. Let's see. Freckle Joy, what's up? Did you hear they are dumping all the toxic waste from East Palestine in a landfill in Indiana? That's awful. He left a note at the Richardsons. Who did? I wonder if it's like a ritual. May 29th. Nothing stands out about the date. All right, let's keep it moving.
It was a very complex, brutal, disturbing crime scene.
Now that sounds very familiar, right? Who does that remind you guys of? Reminds me of Robert Ives.
One of Boone County's most horrific killings remains unsolved. It's 12 years later, but the detectives working the Stephenson case are leaving no stone unturned. In recent months, their investigation has led them even to Indiana to look at a possible connection to this highly publicized
Thanks, Shelley.
Delphi
Memorial
murders.
Day.
Yeah, Jessica Schmidt digs into these new developments in part one of this story from Cincinnati's Crime Vault.
Detective Coy Cox and his partner make up Boone County's cold case unit, yet they say the murder of Bill and Peggy Stephenson is far from cold. In fact, they traveled to at least 14 other states to follow up on leads, including several trips to Delphi, Indiana. And they're pursuing potential breaks in the case using a DNA profile. May 29th.
Like, what the hell are they doing in Delphi? It's obviously not the DNA and it's not Richard Allen, but how would it be parallel? I mean, was this some kind of big conspiracy to try to make money or get their hands on a whole lot of drugs? How would two young girls play into that? It's got to be like some kind of like film, like a snuff film, or maybe somebody promised them that and they got shill-millered and catfished. A lot of people that are from the Florence area just pretty much claim Cincinnati as their home. Even the greater Cincinnati airport sits half of Boone County and half in Kent County. Yeah, that's how we are out here. Everybody just says Phoenix. Exactly, Sleuth. I thought of everything I've said and how similar it is. What this law enforcement was saying also. Yeah, I mean, somebody who knows the details of the crime scene also knew those details. So maybe it was FBI, somebody from the FBI. The Kleins? They did find that gun, remember? Yep, Mustang tentacles. So roll someone out from the way I understand it. Yeah, those are just rumors, though. I don't think they got to match that DNA, and I think that could be the reason why they think others are involved, because they know that Richard Allen is, because obviously he's the guy most likely on the bridge. We don't know that 100%, but it looks that way. He admitted to wearing a blue and blue jacket, blue jeans, and was on the bridge. So we know it's not his DNA, because they would have said, we know he's tied through the bullet and through witnesses. So that means we have somebody else who's tied through DNA. And maybe this DNA, well, I wonder if they would have told us if this DNA matched the DNA from the Stephenson case.
2011 was a sunny Sunday in the suburbs.
was a spring day, like most around here in northern Kentucky.
But the day quickly turned dark after a gruesome discovery.
It was a very complex, brutal, disturbing crime scene.
2 people, both 74 years old, were found dead inside their Boone County home.
Kind of reminds us of Doug Carter, remember? They're not how you left them out in those woods.
A beloved husband and wife, Bill and Peggy Stephenson. A concerned family member found them when they didn't show up for church.
We think it was, a very quick surprise attack. There was some blunt force trauma.
Detective Coy Cox and his partner Tim Adams were sent to the scene. The house had been altered and the bodies were staged.
There were things
Altered and staged. So, it's got to be the crime scene. There's got to be some, the signatures were the same. And Ives is the one that said it appeared to be kind of like a serial killer. He's like, I'm not saying it is a serial killer. I'm just saying, like, it was very odd. But I also moved to Lafayette. Vanessa Marie, parallel connections have us all going in circles. Has anyone been able to dig up information on Richard Allen and his childhood? We got him as far back as high school, from my understanding. Said a tip they gave to ISP wasn't related to Richard Allen. No, it seems like it was related to a person and an item, which is really strange. A person and an item. Because we know a person who had an item who was tipped in 2022. Lisa was visit her mom. It was Lexington. Sees through. There was a talk of a gut hook knife early on, but I doubt that is unusual enough. I wonder if that would be considered an item. This person had an item. For some reason, I want to say a video. Maybe you had a copy of the video and they found out. Here is another, I think the Kleins, Lawrenceburg, which is where the other case is linked to Stephenson's. I thought it was Aurora. We're going to look at that one too. All right, let's keep going.
That were done to their bodies that was horrific. They changed several things in the scene, which is...
They changed several things in the scene. Several things. What the hell? They must have filmed it. Why are they moving stuff? Why are they staging the bodies? And why are they doing all this weird stuff? And they also say they think others are involved.
Is really, really unusual for any murder scene anywhere in the country or in the world.
Whoever killed the couple did not take off right away.
There was quite a bit of time that the perpetrators, the killers, stayed in the residence or felt comfortable coming back to the scene.
In general, detectives believe that kind of behavior points to a suspect who knows the victims. And Bill and Peggy Stephenson were loved by many.
They were amazing people, good Christian people. They wanted to share their faith and their love with the community.
You know, they've missed out on so much. They've missed out on weddings. They've missed out on 3 new great-grandbabies, graduations, like I said, weddings of the grandkids. All the grandkids are married.
That's Bill and Peggy's daughter, Beth Stephenson Victor. She describes her parents as devoted churchgoers, a couple who loved their big family. Peggy was the quiet one.
That kind of reminds me of Hanish, you know, willing to help somebody. And then to somebody that would make you an easy target. Like, oh, you're going to trust me? You know, like most people, they kind of see how evil I am. You're going to just trust me? You're going to let me come into your house? You're going to show me that you have money? You know, some evil doesn't care how kind your heart is. They're thankful for it. It makes things easy for them.
Experienced and talented musician.
played for many weddings, funerals, played for a couple of the grandkids' weddings.
Oh, that's a good point, Jinx. It's the non-secular angle. That's interesting. I like where you're going right there. Yeah, if he's a preacher, man, and we had some stuff that was non-secular over here in Delphi, maybe they left something from this crime scene over there, or something similar. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, she loved to play the organ. She played the piano too.
Bill was the opposite, known as the life of the party, a man heavily involved in ministry. He shared.
Indy is asking, where can I find this video, please? The link is in the description. It's a 2-part series. Everything that you're seeing here today will be linked in the description, and I recommend everybody to go take a look.
His faith with truck drivers every Sunday at a truck stop in Florence.
They had a trailer out that they would open up during the week, and if truckers wanted to stop in and pray, they would pray with them.
That connection to the community became a possible lead for detectives Cox and Adams. Today, they handle the sheriff's cold case unit, but they're still investigating the Stephenson case. Over the years, they've interviewed a lot of truck drivers.
Early on in the investigation, we had information that someone had been at the truck.
Susie says, I read in one article that the investigation had no ties to Richard Allen. No, they didn't say the investigation. They said that the tip and the information that they provided to Delphi had nothing to do with Richard Allen, but that it runs parallel. So I don't know what that, or that it could run parallel.
Stop looking for Bill pretty aggressively, banging on the door of the chapel, asking if anyone had seen Bill.
There are truckers they've ruled out, others still on their radar.
So that's the story so far. Somebody was looking, banging on, like, why were they looking for this guy? Were they mad at him? Were they on a time crunch? Did they need to go take care of whatever it was that they were planning to do at a certain time? Was it ritualistic? Is that why there was 2 victims? I mean, what's going on with this killer? He seems smart enough not to have his DNA in the system. So this person could be anybody, which makes it even more kind of creepy if you think about it.
They've also looked into Charles Stevie Stephenson, the nephew of Bill and Peggy. Detective Cox says they've even spoken to him recently. Stevie is locked up, spending life in prison for beating an Indiana woman to death with a skillet.
We're going to talk about him.
We feel pretty comfortable that that's in a good
this.
place. There is no final statement on there. It isn't that he's been cleared, but we have certainly vetted him in every way possible.
One of the largest developments in the case could still bring them the break they need to close it. Detective Cox says they have an unknown DNA profile.
We don't know who.
Okay, where have we heard that before? Here, let me pull up this quick clip. We're not to get sidetracked. This is really short.
I asked him about fingerprints.
There were some fingerprints collected.
Do you know if those fingerprints belong to the killer?
That I do not know.
And same with DNA. You have DNA.
Yes.
Do you have his DNA?
Again, we don't know.
Unknown DNA. I have another one here from Michael Katt, and the link to this full interview is in the description as well. It's a good one.
Like, how's come nothing's came forward? It seems like you're working. How's come nothing's came forward? It seems like you're working. You know, it's just one of those situations when we got a case that this person's never apparently committed a crime before. We have,
You would feel that he had never committed a crime. He has no DNA in the database.
Well, I can't comment on that, but I'm just saying that's what
He's like, you do the math.
Possibility he's done something, but we can't find no traces of it.
Okay, so this is somebody who's smart enough not to get caught. So, I mean, Is this somebody smart enough to set somebody up as well? Or just working with knuckleheads?
DNA belongs to, and it was found at our crime scene.
It is complex, so genealogy isn't an option, at least right now. There is testing they can do to try to find a match, and that's something they're actively pursuing.
We're just still hopeful, that they'll come up with the right evidence that they need, and a confession would be great. But we're still hopeful that they'll solve it.
More than a decade later, tips continue to come in. Detectives even traveled across state lines in recent weeks to see if what happened to the Stephensons
sees through. That's a good point too. I think it was October they were questioning a guy. Allen arrested late October. So maybe this guy who had the item, maybe it wasn't tied directly to the killer, but maybe it led him in just a couple steps closer to the person, and maybe even led to Richard Allen in some way, like maybe not directly, but whatever the information that was provided may have helped Indiana law enforcement get one step further, especially if they're specifically looking for a guy and a specific item. It's almost like, okay, you're not the guy, but where did you get this item? Oh, well, I got it from this person. Okay. They go to this person and they say, well, where did you get the item? Well, I got it from Richard Allen. Boom. There you go. Parallel.
has any connection to the murder of 2 young girls in Delphi.
We had received some information from an individual regarding the Delphi murders in Indiana, and they had said for all of these reasons, we believe it may be the same person that was involved in the Stephenson case.
There's still much more to share, and part 2 will explain what detectives are doing now with that DNA profile, and will tell you exactly what led them to Delphi.
That's a good point, Olivia. Why did it take so long to connect the murders? Because we know that Ives mentioned early on that they were looking for other cases that were similar because of how strange the crime scene was, that they did look. So, I mean, you got a good point there.
And what's happening now with that lead. Plus, Bill and Peggy's daughter shares more about the impact this tragedy has had on the family. Part 2 is at 10:30.
Never wake up from.
This is part 2.
And you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy.
So for nearly 10 or 12 years, the dark, devastating murders of Bill and Peggy Stephenson have left a lot of loved ones just living in fear.
Yeah, answers could be coming as detectives follow up on new leads involving DNA testing and a potential connection to Delphi, Indiana.
Jessica Schmidt explains the very latest developments in part 2 of this story from Cincinnati's Crime Vault.
Well, at this stage of the investigation, detectives tell me they are not prepared to rule anything or anyone out. They've tried everything, including talking to mediums and psychics and announcing a $50,000 reward for information. And they're working on some of their latest leads right now.
The disturbing deaths of Bill and Peggy Stephenson left so many in the Boone County community shattered.
It was just horrible, just to find out that they're both gone and that it wasn't an accident, it wasn't carbon monoxide, it was at the hands of somebody else. It was almost too much to bear.
The couple was murdered inside their own home in May 2011 after living lives filled with love and ministry. Their daughter Beth calls it an incredibly scary situation.
You were constantly looking over your shoulder, and just up until about 3 years ago, my front blinds never opened. Just within the last 3 years, I've been able to sit with the blinds open.
It was a complex crime scene.
It's pretty bad.
They kept saying that, complex crime scene. Now listen to what she says here.
Somebody could stay, that they could stage something and stay with bodies like that for, multiple hours.
Stage bodies and sit with them for multiple hours. So what do we know about the Delphi case? We know that they encountered somebody at 2:15 on the bridge, and apparently that person wasn't seen fleeing the scene until about 4 p.m. Now that's almost 2 hours. So that's a lot of time that they were spending out there at the crime scene. Very similar to this case.
It's pretty sick.
That's why detectives Coy Cox and Tim Adams are not willing to close the door on anything.
We are careful in this case because of the complexity of some of the evidence, not to say that anyone has been ruled out. But we certainly take it all the way down the path as far as we can to where it's like, okay, we don't see the need to go on down this path because it's not looking like that is our individual.
In November 2022, a tip led them to a neighboring state.
We had received some information from an individual regarding the Delphi murders in Indiana, and they had said for all of these reasons, we believe it may be the same person that was involved in the Stephenson case.
Right away, detectives started looking into a possible connection between Bill and Peggy's 2011 murder and the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi, Indiana in 2017, a case that's garnered national attention.
There's things that will make you really interested in a case, simply more than just somebody saying, hey, we think this person might have been involved. But we had a little piece of...
So it kind of reminds me of Robert Ives talking about things that you would photograph, you know, non-secular. There was three or four distinct things that you would want to photograph. It's kind of like what he's talking about here.
More than just somebody saying, hey, we think this person might have been involved. But we had a little piece of information that really made that case specifically interesting to us.
The information pointed Boone County investigators toward a specific person who had a specific item they were interested in.
I'm not going to tell you about that, what that item was.
Listen.
We recently been in the northern part of
Delphi
Indiana, investigating this guy, following him around, looking for things, collecting all of the information and the evidence that we would need to investigating this guy.
Person who had a specific item they were interested in.
I'm not going to tell you about that, what that item was. We recently been in the northern part of Indiana, investigating this guy, following him around, looking for things, collecting all of the information and the evidence that we would need to at least vet him as best we could with our case. He was cooperative. We were able to go down that path with him, and he articulated good reason to why that may have existed.
See, he's talking about the item. You know, why did you have that item? You have to explain, you know, why you have this. So maybe that information led to Richard Allen or to somebody else, you know, maybe something else helpful. What's up, Kate? Richard Allen interview. Seabury south into Kentucky from Evansville. Yeah, Evansville is right there on the border. Remember the Delphi YouTuber who was a trucker? His name is Clutch. Is he still doing videos? He only covered Delphi. I don't know. I didn't follow Clutch too much. Yeah, Glitter. There's always a never-ending curveball. Non-secular. Tina says, I wonder if it could have something to do with the fact that all attend church. Yeah, that could be the connection, huh?
They sent what they found to Indiana State Police since they are handling the murder investigation of Abby and Libby. To be clear, Detective Cox says their investigation into a potential link between the two cases did not include Richard Allen.
We received information from Indiana as it related to some persons, and we forwarded that to them.
Some persons?
We did not send them the information that led them to Richard Allen. We sent them information that may have had some parallel consistencies with where they are with that.
Did not include Richard Allen.
We received information from Indiana as it related to some persons, and we forwarded that to them. We did not send them the information that led them to Richard Allen. We sent them information that may have had some parallel consistencies with where they are with that case right now.
When Boone County detectives were in Delphi.
Parallel consistencies. I think that has to do with the other people that are involved.
Delphi, Allen was already in jail, where he has been since October of 2022, accused of Abby and Libby's murders.
I know that sounds a little cloak and dagger, but I'm just sorry about that. We're not going any further with that.
That's not the only lead they're following.
We have two gentlemen that are in the trucking profession that we have collected DNA from, and we are awaiting response back from the Kentucky State Police Lab.
They're waiting on results from
Yeah,
the
rest in
lab
peace,
to see
Michael.
if the truck driver's DNA matches the unknown profile found at the Stephenson crime scene. It has Detective Cox feeling hopeful. As someone who has been on the case since day one, it's personal.
That's hard. That's on my watch. That's my case. I want to solve it. I don't want to say it's more special, but it's a very special case, and really like to get it solved. As we would all of them, obviously, but
It's
yeah,
his
this one
Delphi.
has a little extra, tug.
For Bill and Peggy's family, all of these developments feel like a step toward peace, justice, and healing.
Somebody deserves to pay for what they did. And I think we owe it to them. I keep looking at their picture.
Yeah, I mentioned that, Jinx. Jinx says, y'all remember Carter saying in Oppressor how you left those girls in that woods? I'm truly thinking, well, I don't know about all that. Was arrested in 2012, so no link to Delphi, but not arrested before the Stephenson's murder. Okay. I think we're going to be getting into the Charles Stephenson. Let's take a look here. Should be
We owe
coming
it
up
to
shortly.
them, to find answers for them.
We brought up a lot of leads in this two-part story: DNA testing, the nephew, Stevie Stephenson, truckers, and of course that possible connection to Delphi.
Can't remember.
So where does it all
Thomas
stand right
Jerome
now?
Bruce.
Well, Detective Cox stressed they have not ruled anyone out in the Stephenson case. So even though some leads don't look as likely, they haven't eliminated
Thomas
any of
Bruce.
them completely. Now, he won't say if they have any specific suspects or people of interest, but told me he does believe whoever did it has committed other crimes. He did confirm they know the
Yikes.
exact time the couple died because of a medical device inside one of the victims, something that could help them pinpoint the killer. Anyone with information on this case is urged to call it in right away. Now, you can watch all of our Crime Vault stories online right now on fox19.com or on our free news app. We also have a podcast called Cincinnati's Crime Vault Beyond the Broadcast. An episode on this case, the Stephenson case, will drop next month with more details from detectives. Jessica Schmidt, Fox 19.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that when it comes out.
They sound like a real.
All right.
He killed an Aurora, Indiana woman by hitting her with a pepper grinder and a skillet.
And today, the same jury that found Charles Stephenson guilty of murdering 67-year-old Leigh Jennings recommended that he get life in prison without the chance of parole. WLWT News 5's Brian Hamrick now. He was in the courtroom when that verdict was read.
Well, it's guilty on both murder and robbery, which means in the sentencing phase, the jury also determines how Stephenson will spend the rest of his life. Charles Stephenson remains silent. Mr. Stephenson, what's your reaction to the verdict? Not only about the guilty verdict, but as the jury determined his sentence, finding he should spend the rest of his life in prison, a sentence that the family of Leigh Jennings has been waiting to hear.
My reaction is finally some level of relief. The man got what I believed he deserved.
What we've come here from the beginning is justice. Justice for Leigh Jennings and justice for her family.
It's a good
Leigh
question.
Jennings was killed in March of last year in her Aurora home. The jury determined that Stephenson beat her to death with a pepper grinder and a skillet. Stephenson's defense team called Stephenson's grown children to the stand. His daughter Sarah.
That's a good question. Does the tip in the 2022 coincide with the time of the river search? No. I mean, kind of. It's not much. It wasn't much longer, much after the search that this information came out.
Told the jury her father was a very kind person, and his son Farley said he respectfully disagreed with the verdict, one that will be challenged.
Steve has indicated he will definitely appeal this matter. He is maintaining his innocence.
For now, Charles Stephenson leaves the courthouse as a convicted killer, as one detective put it, sentenced to death by incarceration. And it's still not determined which prison Stephenson will call home. Brian Hamrick, WLWT, News 5.
Yep, they followed him around, and then that individual isn't incarcerated. Well, they followed him around. They gathered data on this person, and then it seems like they made contact with him, and he was able to explain why he had this item. So I don't know what that means. Hey, what's up, Natasha? Good to see you. SB74. Remember Tobe saying we will know it when we see it. Something very specific. Something left at the crime scene. I think there was a pacemaker. Maybe there was a recording device. I'm not sure exactly. Mandy Ray says one investigator says he believes the killer is trying to communicate through crime scenes. Yeah, a lot of these killers get frustrated because law enforcement does not pick up on the clues and the subtleties, and sometimes they miss the signature altogether. That's why you have people like the BTK that just pick up the phone and they're like, "Hey, why aren't you putting my killings in the news?" I'm not sure. Maybe something from the river search. Could be, yeah. What's up, EL? Coins were left by Abby and Libby. I knew that was a theory, that maybe somebody left coins. There was a rumor about coins being left on the eyes. I don't know if that would be considered non-secular. I guess it could be. Thanks, Jane. Yeah, hit that like button. What's wrong with you? Me too, Olivia. It's crazy. I mean, how do you have like a crime scene that's like no other, but yet it's not? There's another crime scene that's similar to it. So they got a lot of information. It seems like even though the system is moving slowly, it's moving, At least it's moving. I think I have an article here. It has a little bit more details about the Leigh Jennings murder. The guy, Charles Steve Stephenson, facing a life sentence for her murder. Yeah, that speaker, Honeybee, good to see you. Very detailed and clear. He makes things very clear. I appreciated that. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate you. Boone County, Indiana, an hour from Delphi. Yeah, I think they have his gun. Maybe there was another weapon. What did Paul Etter do for a living? Yeah, Paul Etter was mentioned quite often at the beginning of all of this. And that dude was crazy. He got into a shootout and ended up committing suicide. The I-65 killer hit the Boone County area and was his only hit away from I-65. Yeah, that is interesting. Our Christian religion doesn't determine how people feel and act. The whole damn ring is coming down. Yeah, this could be some kind of organized sick group. I don't know, maybe anonymously they just meet and do this weird, and some people are just worse than others. I don't know, I'm trying to explain something that's not supposed to be revealed. This is they're trying to keep something hidden. And I don't think they'll ever reveal that. Maybe it goes deeper than we could expect, and they don't want their families to get hurt. Law enforcement says they can protect you, but they really can't, If they don't know who the killer is, how are they going to protect somebody from that person? Doesn't make any sense. All right, and we'll kind of scroll through this one quickly. Okay. So the title of this is Leigh Jennings Murder. Where is Charles Stephenson now? Link is in the description. Viswa Vanapali, May 27th, 2021. Investigation discoveries murder in the heartland. Fear travels fast. Explores the case of Leigh Jennings. The 67-year-old barber was not heard from for a few days before neighbors found her savagely beaten to death inside her home in 2012. The murder that happened in the small town of Aurora, Indiana, came as a shock to everyone that knew Leigh because she had always been so helpful and well-liked. So let's find out more about what happened in Leigh then, shall we? How did Leigh Jennings die? Leigh Jennings grew up in Florence, Kentucky, and we just got done learning a little bit about Florence, Kentucky and where it is compared to Delphi. But later moved to Aurora. Leigh had 2 sons and was a loving grandmother of 4. People who knew Leigh remembered her for her warm and kind nature. She always tried to help out in any way she could. At the time, she had been working as a barber at a shop in Florence. By April 5th, 2012, Leigh had not been seen or heard from in 7 days, and loved ones started to get worried. When neighbors were able to get into her home, they discovered her horrific scene. Leigh was found beaten to death on the floor. There was a large amount of blood spatter in the kitchen and the dining room. The police found a bloody pepper grinder left on the kitchen table, and an iron skillet hung on the wall had blood on it. Leigh had a fractured skull that was the result of a blunt force trauma to her head. The state in which the body was found led the investigators to believe that she had died about a week earlier on March 29th. Who killed Leigh Jennings? Investigation revealed that on the day that she died, Leigh had taken her mother to the hospital. Leigh was to meet someone for coffee at her house and then come back to see her mother, but she never did. The person she was supposed to meet was Charles Stephenson. There was a Papa John's pizza box in Leigh's kitchen that had Leigh and Charles's name on it. Furthermore, phone records also showed that the 2 exchanged text messages that stopped on March 29th. The police now had a suspect, and this is him. I remember seeing his face, that mustache. As police dug into Charles' history, they realized that he was having money problems. He was deep in debt and had fallen behind on payments to his aunt. He was ordered by the court to pay $500 a month, which he failed to do for some time. An attorney representing his aunt had asked Charles to pay the money he owed by March 30th. Charles had known Leigh from the barbershop and had borrowed money from her earlier, according to documentation found at Leigh's house. Now, Leigh was someone who didn't trust banks and hence kept large amounts of money locked away in a safe in her bedroom. The investigators believed that money was the motive behind the murder. Irrefutable proof came their way in the form of DNA evidence. Analysis revealed that there was both Leigh and Charles's blood on the grinder and the skillet. Furthermore, Leigh's blood was found on documents inside one of the safes, and Charles's fingerprint was found on a document inside another. After stealing money from the safe, Charles paid off his debt, and when he was asked how he got the money, he said that he borrowed it from a friend. This friend later stated that he never lent Charles any of the money. At one point during the investigation, he even tried to commit suicide, but he survived this attempt. Later, Charles was charged with Leigh's murder. He then stood trial in 2013. Prosecutors claimed that Charles had gone to ask Leigh for some money, and when he refused, he killed and robbed her. The defense argued that no other suspects were looked at, but in the end, the DNA and other evidence presented were enough for a jury to hand down a guilty verdict. Okay, that's how I remember this guy. Remember we covered him? He tried to cut his own throat in court. Yeah, we did an hour-long series on this story and its connection to Delphi. See, now I remember him. Do you guys remember that live stream? I'll have to find it. Maybe we'll do a replay. But yeah, we covered this story. That's very interesting. I remembered him because he used to have a mustache, and he cut his own throat in the courtroom. Charles was convicted of robbing and beating Leigh to death, and in July 2013 was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Leigh's family was happy with the investigation and the final verdict. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they do turn. The family is happy that my mother is getting at least the justice she deserves, said her son Ryan. As her prison records, Charles is incarcerated at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City, Indiana. Wow. So that's crazy. Yeah. So we're going to find that and we'll replay it. We covered this case, I think, last year, at the beginning of last year. I remember him now. Yeah, he was in court and he tried to cut his throat, tried to commit suicide right in the middle of the courtroom. Yeah, it could be nothing too. I mean, it's already not nothing. I mean, it's already interesting, but yeah, that's true, digital. Yeah, I'm a Christian too, Natasha. I'm not religious and I don't believe in church, but trafficking, I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking drugs and sadism. Yes, Honeybee. Honeybee is asking, did the news clip infer that there was more than one person involved? Yeah, they believe that there could be. They did mention that. Non-secular is not religious. No, non-secular is religious. I think it must be the murder happened that makes them think same person. Hard to believe two people could be that sick at the same time. I think serial killer, one person. Yeah, this could be one person who finds a group of maybe addicts, people who are struggling, and then he finds ways to manipulate them. You know, imagine sitting in a room with somebody like a Garrett Kurtz and a Keegan Kline and a Richard Allen, and you have this big bag of drugs, or a whole shit ton of money, and you're like, hey guys, if you go and do this or you do this for me, I'll give you this. Maybe they were motivated by something, and then this guy's like, well, I don't have anything to give you. You don't know who I am. You obviously now know that I'm a killer, and now you guys are involved. Thanks for helping me, but if you tell on me, you're going to be next. And we're going to start winding down here, guys. Good point, Ruckus. 208 watching, only 101 likes. I don't like that 50% ratio there. Let's fix that. Aurora is near Lawrenceburg and not far from Cincinnati. Oh, is it? It's southern Indiana? I didn't have a chance to look. Thank you for that, SP. Yeah, Ruckus's channel. Make sure you guys go check him out. Depravity. That's a good word. Did you see possible Wiccan mentioned in the article? No, I didn't. Names on the pizza box, DNA's in the safe. And on the murder weapon. So he commits this brutal murder like a year after his family members are murdered. Maybe he led the killer to them. If this guy is willing to kill for money, maybe the killer kind of hung a carrot in front of him, is like, lead me to these two victims and I'll give you money, help me set them up. Support with Steph says, oh my goodness, what did he use to try and cut his own throat? I can't remember. It was like just a piece of metal or something that had been sharpened. See, I knew I recognized this guy. I was like, where do I recognize him from? And it just hit me right now, that part about him trying to commit suicide in the courtroom. Yeah, I'm going to have to find that live stream. We did a whole hour on that case and him. And I found a lot of strange footage. So yeah, that should be good. So look forward to that. I'll find that probably tomorrow morning when I have some time during my lunch break. All right, guys, we're going to start closing her down. I want to thank everybody for hanging out, participating in the chat. Everybody who was not participating in scrub-like behavior and hit the like button, thank you so much. If you're rewatching this, part of the replay crew, leave a comment. I'll check on it. I always do. And that's all my time, guys. Yeah, Mr. Rogers. Thanks, Boston. Appreciate it. Thank you, Don. Thanks for hanging out. There's more. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate you. Honey B, thank you so much. Olivia, Digital, James, Nana, good to see Railroad Joe. Hey, call him late, but don't call him a scrub. Thank you, Jinx. Thank you, Miss Thang, Miss Dog Lover. All right, guys. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. If you need to email me, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Don't forget to go subscribe to my second channel. It's more of a political, shenanigan, gaming, unsolved mysteries, conspiracies, and UFOs. Everything this channel isn't, for the most part. Thank you, Shelly. Thanks, Boston. Thank you, Vanessa, Rhonda. Yeah, leave a comment if you need to. I'll get back to you. You're awesome, Jinx. All right, guys, make sure you have a good night. I'll see you on the next one.